Hello everyone, welcome to my September 2021 market update. Not a lot happened over the summer, a lot of people away. We'll show you how that impacted our market, but let's jump into it. Short update today. So again, just to recap, the sales ratio is what I'm using to determine how active the market is in various segments. Anything above 21% sales ratio or absorption rate is a seller's market, upward pressure on pricing. Anything between 12 and 20% is what we call a balanced market. There's no upward or downward pressure in pricing. It doesn't favor the buyers or the sellers. But if the sales ratio or the absorption rate drops below 11%, that is defined as a buyer's market and there's downward pressure on pricing. So let's jump right into this and let's look at our market Speedo for this past month. That's a great shot. I love that video. So pretty well overall, we're on track for a record-breaking year still, even though our market has softened. We're currently at a 31% sales ratio for Metro Vancouver, so that's a very good sign. And let's see, why are we still there right now? Let's look at the different factors that have hit us. Just the year-over-year numbers. Total listings are down. Now that's a big factor right now, is a number of listings on the market. There's very little for buyers to buy. We'll get a little bit more into that later. Total sales are up year over year, and overall pricing for Metro Vancouver is up 9% year over year. So those are interesting stats. Here's the table I like to put together and go through every month for my updates. The sales activity for detached houses down 13%. Year over year, we're down in sales activity in townhomes and half duplexes. However, condos, the affordable product at condos, up 22% for sales activity year over year. Benchmark pricing, houses are up year over year 20%. Townhomes, condos, 17%. And townhomes, half duplexes up 17%. Condos up 8% year over year. Most importantly, what's happening over the past month, the pricing is stalling out. There is very little price change in all product categories. So those prices have leveled off. Why have they not fallen yet? We'll talk about that very shortly. So there are four drivers in the market. Money is still cheap. That is a changing factor. Interest rates are starting to climb. There's upward pressure there from the increasing inflation rate. Savings are up. People are starting to spend that money. The trend for more space, that's continuing. So that demand is still there, has been throughout the summer. But the big factor that has changed over this last month is the supply levels have stabilized and actually dropped over the last couple of months in many product categories, and that's mainly because people have been away. And I think that's one of the main factors that's been keeping our pricing stable without falling, because there hasn't been new inventory feeding the market. So the buyers that are out there buying right now have less and less to choose from, and that's keeping that sales ratio higher and keeping the prices up. So that supply is a major factor that we'll look at. It's all about the number of listings right now, and we're in this sort of pivotal moment now with the election this month, how things are going to unfold for the fall, which will paint our picture for next year. So it's quite an interesting time right now. We're going to see over the next few weeks what's happening. Again, let's look at the sales ratios for the suburbs. Again, below 12%, we're in a buyer's market. Above 20 or 22, 21, we're in a seller's market. So that's something that we'll look at for each of these areas. So detached houses, Vancouver West Side, has now officially just dropped into a buyer's market at 11%. You can see it does vary by price range. If you're in the affordable range for houses west side, under 3 million, we're still in a seller's market. As soon as you pass that magic 3 million mark, you drop well into a heavy buyer's market. And you can see how that sales ratio has steadily dropped as we approach summer from our peak in April. Very interesting. So detached houses, we're in a buyer's market. Condos and townhomes west side actually jumped up 39%. Again, I think the main factor here is the inventory's dropped off, so the buyers that are still buying have kept the prices up. We jumped up from last month's 30%. Condos, townhomes, west side. So condos, townhomes downtown, again a jump from 24% last month to 29%. Some upward pressure there on pricing because of the lack of product to choose from. Detached houses, Vancouver East Side, still in a seller's market. You'll see dramatic shift in inventory there. That's a big jump from last month. And condos, townhomes, East Side at 41%. Whoa, hot market in the East Side for condos and townhomes. Big jump from last month again. So why is this happening? We'll talk about what's happening in the burbs. It's really a mixed bag, but typically the less expensive product and the less expensive neighborhoods are seeing increased sales ratios. Some of the more expensive neighborhoods are dropping. This is detached. It's mixed throughout all the suburbs. And attached, very similar mixed bag throughout. For forecasting, one of our biggest influences right now is people are watching the pandemic and what's happening. As everybody's well aware, we are in our fourth wave of the pandemic. The hospitalization rates are up. The overall infection rate has risen again quite dramatically. We're hovering somewhere around the 3,000 infections per day, being reported cases per day throughout Canada. And we have about 38 million, so that's quite an interesting stat, which I'm going to compare to the US very shortly. If we're looking at the United States, has a population of 331 million, they're at 155,000 new cases daily, 1,300 deaths every day. So if you take that, they're roughly 10 times the population. If you multiply our cases per day of 3,000, it's about 30,000. Compared to the 155,000. So the infection rate in the US is the scary number that a lot of people are watching. That does impact consumer confidence, and it does indirectly impact our market, how comfortable people are spending money. So that's a factor. This is quite an interesting graph. Sorry about the resolution, but you can just see the darker the color in the US, that's where the higher infection rates are. And you can see what's happening. Holy cow, look at Florida. Very interesting with all their mandates against masking and vaccination beliefs. Quite an interesting market to look at. But here in BC, we've got to concentrate on getting vaccinated. These two young people here are saying, come on guys, it's time to get out there and get your shot. If you haven't yet, we're only at 67%. That's stalled out a little bit. We've got to get that figure higher. The vaccination passport, the vaccine passport that's coming out this month has boosted. I think they've got a threefold jump in bookings for the vaccination. So that's a really good sign. We actually need to get at 90%. The epidemiologists are forecasting the pandemic could last these waves another 6 to 8 months, bringing us well into the beginning of next year, and that vaccines alone won't stop the fourth wave, but we do need to get at 90% in order to get this fourth wave in check. So get out there and get your shots. So employment levels are back. That has not changed. The GDP has dropped slightly into summer, but let's look at the two larger factors. Cost of borrowing, of course, is increasing. Last month we had consumer price index of 3.7%. That's quite a bit higher than the 1 to 3% target band that the Bank of Canada is hoping for. So inflation is providing that upward pressure on mortgage rates. And inventory levels is probably the major factor in our market right now. And you can see that. Why has our sales ratio been so strong over the summer in a softening market? And why have prices remained steady more or less, 0.3%, 0.2% over last month in this particular market? It's mainly due to inventory. And you can see that here in houses. You can see we've had a climb in inventory into May, and then from June, July, August, it's dropped off, and that's condos, townhomes, west side. We've seen the same thing, and some big changes on the east side. You can see houses. Remember, that market's very hot. Look at why. The inventory levels have dropped off substantially from a peak of 669 listings down to 479. When you've got that supply falling and the demand remaining relatively constant, of course, there's going to be upward pressure on pricing. So how people react this fall to getting their homes on the market will play the ultimate role in what's going to happen in pricing. So, and that brings up, this is an interesting graph I found as well. You can see the new listings have dropped off since this spring, and that in turn has dropped off the number of sales. Now, when the listing inventory goes down, the number of sales goes down, there is that upward pressure on pricing, and that's what's keeping it stable right now at the moment. And this is, of course, the average price graph, which I like to look at. We're kind of doing a little bit of squiggly here in houses at that latest peak, and it's wavering. And then we've got attached, and then we've got condos here down below. So forecasting, what can we say is going to happen? Of course, this year we had the average price increase of 15%. And what's going to happen in fall will depend on many, many factors. We've got the federal election, capital gains, consumer confidence could cause a mass listing surge. Other factors at play, inflation rates, the efficacy rates of the vaccinations, the booster vaccine, are we going to need that? The new variants that are coming out. People are watching all of these things and deciding whether or not is this the time to sell our home and do this next upgrade. Depending on where all these factors fall over the next month will determine what kind of market we're going to be in at the end of September, October, November. And it really is a mixed bag of factors, the darker ones being the major ones. Who's going to be elected? Is it going to be a majority government? What kind of mandate are they going to have to bring back the monies that have been spent? Are there going to be some major tax implications? Are they going to affect capital gains, which impacts the investor market? How many of them are going to go into the market? How many people are going to put their home in the market to make that upgrade, or in fear of a falling market? All of these factors are going to come into play over the next few weeks, and we're going to see it's going to be a very, very interesting September and, of course, October. And I will report back at the end of September and show you what's happening. So that is my market update for September. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to pop me an email, marty@pospashillrealty.com. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to us. We've got on YouTube, and of course you can like us on Facebook, and you'll be notified when the new updates come in. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Marty Pospisil. Stay safe, get vaccinated, enjoy the rest of the good weather that hopefully we're going to get in September, and I will be back to you in a month.